Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel General Hospital today. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Josslyn Jax has always been a character who tries to balance her heart with her head, often finding herself caught between right and wrong, loyalty and betrayal, truth and lies. On the surface, she projects strength, determination, and a clear moral compass, but beneath that exterior lies a young woman who has made her share of questionable decisions. For months, whispers around Port Charles have hinted that Joss has been holding back something significant, something she fears would shatter the carefully built life she has crafted for herself. The truth, however, has a way of rising to the surface, and as her secret edges closer to exposure, the consequences threaten to leave her not only heartbroken but also stripped of everything she holds dear. The looming revelation doesn't just affect Josslyn. It ripples across every relationship she is tied to. At its core, her secret is tied to choices she made when her emotions were clouded by pain and confusion. Joss, who has always prided herself on being honest, slipped into a pattern of half-truths and outright deceptions, convincing herself that she was protecting those she loved. She has been juggling the weight of responsibility, telling herself she would come clean eventually, but every day that passes without her confessing has only compounded the damage. Now her worst nightmare is about to become reality. Others are beginning to connect the dots, and the truth is about to explode in the most public and devastating way possible. The fear of exposure has been eating away at her, even as she tries to focus on school, her friendships, and her relationship with Dex. On the surface, she maintains the appearance of being in control, but behind closed doors, she is haunted by sleepless nights, plagued by the possibility that she could lose the trust of those she loves most. Joss has seen firsthand how lies can corrode families. Her mother Carly has made mistakes, and Joss has sworn to learn from them. Yet here she is walking down a dangerously similar path, repeating the cycle she once criticized. The irony is not lost on her, but self-awareness doesn't make the truth any easier to tell. What makes Joss's situation even more precarious is the timing. Port Charles is in a fragile state, with long-standing rivalries, shifting alliances, and unresolved tensions simmering just beneath the surface. Every character seems to be keeping secrets of their own, but Joss's happens to intersect with too many lives at once, creating the perfect storm. Carly has been depending on Joss for emotional stability, while Dex has been relying on her support, as he navigates his own precarious position within Sunny's world. Trina, her best friend, believes in her wholeheartedly, trusting her as the one constant who will never let her down. Yet Joss knows in her heart that the moment the truth is revealed, all of these bonds could shatter, leaving her isolated and exposed. The biggest tragedy is that Joss didn't set out to deceive anyone. She is not malicious by nature, nor does she revel in manipulation. Instead, her choices were born from desperation, fear, and a longing to control a situation that seemed beyond her grasp. She told herself over and over that it was temporary, that she just needed to wait for the right moment to come clean. But there is no such thing as a perfect time to reveal a devastating truth. Every day she delayed, the consequences became more severe, and now the choice is being ripped from her hands. The secret is no longer hers to hold. It's on the verge of spilling into the open, and when it does, she will no longer be able to shape the narrative. There are subtle signs everywhere that her world is closing in. Offhand remarks from friends who don't realize how close they are to the truth. Questions from Carly that cut a little too close for comfort. A look in Dex's eyes when he senses that she is holding something back. Even Trina, her most loyal confidant, has begun to notice cracks in Joss's armor. Moments when her smile falters or her voice trembles. Joss feels like she is living in a house of mirrors, surrounded by reflections of her guilt, unable to escape the truth that is barreling toward her. Each day feels like a countdown to detonation, and she has no idea how much collateral damage will be left behind when the bomb finally goes off. The cruelest part of this situation is the price she stands to pay. For Joss, her relationships are her foundation. She has endured unimaginable loss. Losing Oscar left a wound that has never fully healed, and in the aftermath, she clung to her friendships and family as lifelines. If this secret destroys those bonds, she will find herself adrift in a way she has never been before. Trina may feel betrayed, questioning whether Joss ever truly trusted her. Dex, who has already been wary of loyalty and trust issues due to his dangerous entanglement with Sunny, might see this as proof that Joss is no different from the world he despises. Carly, who expects honesty above all else, will feel as if her daughter has turned into a reflection of her own worst choices. The irony is devastating. Joss, in trying to protect everyone, may lose them all. The fallout is inevitable, but the way it happens will determine just how catastrophic it becomes. If the secret is exposed by someone else, Joss will lose not only trust but also credibility. No one will believe that she ever intended to come clean. They will see her silence as manipulation, as a calculated decision to protect herself at their expense. On the other hand, if she gathers the courage to confess before the truth is dragged into the light, she may salvage some measure of respect, though the consequences will still be painful. Unfortunately, time is not on her side. Events are spiraling too quickly, and she may not have the luxury of choosing how the truth comes out. The moment of reckoning is coming, and no matter how she prepares, she will never be ready for the magnitude of what she stands to lose. The weight of secrets has always been a theme in Port Charles, but Joss's situation feels especially poignant because it marks a turning point in her journey from adolescence to adulthood. She has always been seen as a bright, resilient, and principled young woman, but this moment will test every ounce of her character. Will she rise to the occasion, taking responsibility and facing the storm head-on, or will she crumble under the weight of exposure? The answer to that question will determine not only her own future, but also the dynamics of her most important relationships. As the secret threatens to blow apart her world, Joss is learning a painful lesson. Sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. Sometimes it destroys everything you thought you knew. When the walls begin to close in on Josslyn, the people closest to her sense that something is wrong, even if they can't quite put their finger on it. The uneasiness is subtle at first, almost like background noise that slowly grows louder until it becomes impossible to ignore. For Dex, the man she loves, it manifests in the way she avoids his gaze whenever he asks her a direct question, or how her phone seems to be glued to her hand as if she's afraid he'll see something he isn't supposed to. At first, Dex chalks it up to stress. After all, Joss has always carried more on her shoulders than most people her age. But with every evasion, every hollow reassurance, his patience wears thinner. Dex knows the cost of secrecy. He has lived it every day since aligning himself with Sunny's organization, and he cannot help but recognize the same evasive patterns in Joss that he's been guilty of himself. What he doesn't realize yet is just how much her silence is about to cost them. Trina, on the other hand, approaches the situation from a place of unwavering loyalty. She has always seen Joss as her rock, the one person who never hesitated to stand by her side, no matter what crisis erupted in their lives. From the ordeal with Esme to the countless ways Port Charles chaos has tested their bond, Trina has never doubted Joss's devotion. Yet even Trina's trust is beginning to fracture under the strain of unanswered questions. The best friends used to share everything. Secrets, fears, and dreams, but lately Joss has been keeping her at arm's length. Their conversations feel rehearsed, as though Joss is editing herself before speaking. For Trina, who has prided herself on the authenticity of their bond, that distance feels like a betrayal in itself. What hurts most is that Joss seems to be underestimating her. Trina has faced devastating truths of her own. She knows how to handle painful revelations. What she can't handle is being shut out completely. Carly is perhaps the most dangerous person for Joss to disappoint. As her mother, Carly has fought tooth and nail to provide Joss with a life filled with opportunities, resilience, and the ability to chart her own path. Carly has also been the one to model how secrets can unravel lives. She has lived through countless battles where lies tore relationships apart, and she has spent years trying to teach her daughter to avoid those same pitfalls. The irony of Joss making the very same mistakes Carly once did is not lost on either of them. Carly senses that something is off. She has a mother's intuition, and she knows when her child is hiding something. But Carly has also learned not to push too hard. She tells herself that when Joss is ready, she will talk. What Carly doesn't realize is that waiting may be her undoing. By the time the truth comes out, it may be far too late to repair the damage. And then there's Sunny. Though not directly connected to Joss's secret in the beginning, Sunny has always had a protective streak toward her. He sees her as an extension of Carly as family, and he will not tolerate anyone hurting her. Yet Sunny is no stranger to deception. He lives in a world where secrets are currency, and he can smell dishonesty a mile away. If Joss's secret intersects with his business, if it even remotely puts Dex in danger or compromises the delicate balance of power he maintains, Sonny will not hesitate to take control. That could mean cutting Joss out of the picture, forbidding her from seeing Dex, or worse, forcing Dex to choose between loyalty to her and survival in Sonny's dangerous orbit. In that scenario, Joss doesn't just risk losing her relationship. She risks dragging Dex into a conflict he cannot win. The longer Joss holds back, the greater the tension becomes, and when the truth finally explodes into the open, it does so with devastating force. It doesn't come from Joss's confession. It comes from an outside source, someone who has pieced together fragments and realizes the power in exposing her. Whether it's Esme, Spencer, or another opportunistic player in Port Charles, the result is the same. Joss's carefully guarded secret is revealed in a way that strips her of all control. She doesn't get to explain, doesn't get to soften the blow. She is left scrambling to pick up the pieces as the people she loves look at her with disbelief and anger. The silence in that moment, the absence of trust in their eyes, cuts her deeper than any words ever could. Dex's reaction is perhaps the most gut-wrenching. He has spent so much of his life doubting whether anyone could truly love him for who he is, rather than for what he can provide or the role he plays in Sonny's world. Joss was supposed to be the exception, the one who saw his heart, not just his circumstances. But when her secret comes out, Dex feels like a fool for believing she was different. To him, her lies are proof that she is no better than the world he's trying to escape. The anger and disappointment in his eyes shatter Joss, because losing Dex means losing the future she imagined for herself. The relationship she once thought unshakable now hangs by a thread, and Joss realizes too late that her silence has destroyed the one thing she valued most. Trina's devastation is quieter but no less painful. For her, the betrayal lies in the fact that Joss didn't trust her enough to share the truth. Trina has stood by Joss through every storm, yet when it came to this, Joss shut her out. It makes Trina question the very foundation of their friendship. Were they really as close as she thought? Or has Joss always been holding back? The doubt gnaws at her, and though Trina doesn't want to walk away, she also can't pretend the wound doesn't exist. For the first time, the unbreakable bond between them feels fractured, and Joss is terrified that it may never fully mend. Carly's disappointment is perhaps the most crushing of all. She has always been Joss's fiercest protector, but she is also the one who demands accountability. To Carly, honesty is not negotiable, especially after everything their family has endured. When the secret comes out, Carly sees not just the lie itself but the pattern it represents. She worries that Joss is repeating her mistakes, that she is walking down the same destructive path Carly once did. Carly's love is unconditional, but her trust is not, and rebuilding that trust will take time Joss may not have. In Carly's eyes, Joss has crossed a line, and though she will always be her daughter, she may no longer be the girl Carly believed her to be. The aftermath of the revelation leaves Joss in a state of freefall. Everywhere she turns, she encounters anger, disappointment, or silence. The people who once defined her sense of self now see her as a stranger, and the isolation is suffocating. She wants to explain, to justify her choices, to make them understand why she stayed quiet, but explanations don't erase betrayal. She discovers that once trust is broken, words are little more than empty promises. For the first time in her life, Joss finds herself truly alone, facing the harsh reality that she may have lost everything she once held dear. The headlines were brutal. Jack's heiress arrested for evidence tampering, perjury. General Hospital heiress in jail. The media feast was grotesque. Her father, Jax, was on a plane from Australia within hours, his fury at Carly for allowing this to happen palpable even from across the world. And then the final cruelest twist. With the case against Trina now in ruins due to the compromised evidence, the charges were dropped. Trina was free. She emerged from the courtroom into a barrage of cameras, her freedom won by the very crime that had now ensnared her best friend. The look on her face was not joy, but utter devastation. She rushed to Josslyn, who was out on bail, awaiting her own trial. "I'm so sorry, Joss. This is all my fault." Trina sobbed, hugging her tightly. "No," Josslyn said, her voice hollow. "It's not. I did what I had to do. You're free. That's all that matters." But the words were empty. The cost of that freedom was now laid bare between them, a chasm of criminal records and broken trust that their friendship might never cross. She had lost everything. Her reputation was in tatters. The university was initiating expulsion proceedings. Her relationship with Cam was over, shattered by the scale of her deception. Dex was facing serious prison time, and his association with her had likely burned any chance he had at a legitimate life in Port Charles. Her family was fractured, her mother's heart broken by her actions, her father's disappointment a tangible force. She stood alone in the penthouse, looking out at the city she had once felt she owned, a princess of Port Charles. Now she was its most notorious pariah. The secret was revealed. She had saved her friend, but in doing so she had sacrificed her future, her love, and the very identity she had fought so hard to build. She had become the thing she'd sought to defeat. A liar, a criminal, a cautionary tale. The spoils of this war were not victory but ashes. And in the chilling silence of her gilded cage, Josslyn Jax began to understand the true price of a secret, and the devastating wreckage that follows when it is finally, ruthlessly revealed.